Third down and 20.
Frank's going to pull up the mock draft, our consensus big board, and there's a lot of interesting stuff about where we have certain players valued.
Travesties.
JT's a crime to humanity.
So if you're watching on YouTube or Twitch, like, you can hit us up, 3rd and 20 on YouTube and Twitch. You can see that we all consensus across the board. Trevor Lawrence 101 hasn't changed. None of us have tried to make that argument. Lounis one time tried to say Kyler Murray was higher than Patrick Mahomes, but we haven't gotten that far with this one.
One day.
So then 102 is kind of where we got our first little split up, but for the most part, we end up landing on Trey Lance. If we didn't have Trey Lance as our second, we had him as our third. Frank was the lowest on him at 5. So I would say, guys, through the first two, just Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance, not too much controversy. 3, Justin Fields. Frank, you're actually pretty low on Justin Fields. So if you want to just give like a quick breakdown of why you have him as your 109 and behind Mac Jones.
I don't think if you follow my rankings for a while, I don't think it's a terrible surprise to have him down here. I will say the quick caveat, though, is that I think this is just kind of like a blank universe and like a 12-team, non-6-point passing touchdown, just super flex league. I think that if it was 6-point passing touchdowns, you desperately need a quarterback. Definitely, I could see you taking him in the top 5 just with how scarce the quarterbacks are. But I think that he has a lot more issues that people aren't really seeing or accepting. I don't really know. Justin Fields, for some reason, like, I can understand why people like him, but he has like this cult following that God forbid you see, like, if you just point out something like a minor negative in his game, it's like, oh, no, you lose all credibility. You're an idiot. Like, screw you. So it's just a little weird. I think that his issues are being understated. I think that he went to the worst landing spot of all the quarterbacks.
Yeah, he's got Allen Robinson there. I guess it's your opinion of what Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace are as people, and I think most of Chicago is low on them. So
they might be gone in a year.
Yeah, they could be gone in a year. He definitely has the most. He has the most questionable stability.
I do like his receivers though.
Yeah. All right, moving on. Justin Fields does end up being our consensus 103, but he's actually tied with our man Kyle Pitts. We are Kyle Pitts podcast. We have him as 104 ahead of the other quarterbacks. Jamar Chase, he's our first non-quarterback off the board at 104. We've done different episodes on Kyle Pitts. We're very high on him. Moving on to 105 is where we end up with Zach Wilson. He's kind of one that consensus across the board we're pretty close together on. Frank actually has him all the way up at 102. I'm not going to make Frank break down again. He's another one that Frank's been very consistent on. So, kind of still staying chalk for us. But I think where we differ is we have Jamar Chase at 106. Frank's lower on Jamar Chase as well. But 107 is where we differ than everyone else. We have Javonte Williams as our first running back off the board.
And Frank has him up as high as 104. Again, if you follow Frank, he's big into Javonte Williams, and we're all right behind him. We all have him as our running back 1 off the board, so not really too big a surprise if you follow the pod.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of did a deep dive into Najee Harris a few weeks ago when we did our AFC North breakdown. If you want to go check that out, we talked about a lot about how we thought about Najee Harris. Eventually, we will actually be fully breaking down Javonte Williams with the AFC West breakdown that we'll do in a few weeks. So it's just, I think we all see flaws in Najee Harris's gameplay, but we also see what Javonte Williams potentially can be and what he did on UNC. So yeah, and the Broncos even trading up to go get him is encouraging. Someone
2 years younger too.
Yeah.
One last thing I want to say about like Javonte Williams versus the other running backs, and kind of to a certain extent my receiver rankings that definitely deviate from how the NFL valued them, is that if you look at draft capital, the only positions it really seems to have a huge trend on in terms of the order that they are taken is tight end and to a certain extent quarterback. Outside of that, like receivers and running backs, it's definitely more about the range you were drafted in than the order that you were drafted. I think that people like falling for that bait a little bit too much instead of looking at the range you're drafted in. Like, I mean, a good example from last year that, I mean, a lot of us, I know me and Lounis to a certain extent took the bait on, was Rager. It's like, oh, well, you can look at, well, the Eagles were higher on him. Obviously, he's the best guy. And that would have made you discount guys like Justin Jefferson and Ayuk, who were the actual hits to a certain extent.
Yeah. Obviously, film's still out on these guys, but Justin Jefferson being a record-breaking NFL wide receiver and Ayuk being really good would lead you to believe that their careers are going to be better than Jalen Rager's. Moving on, Mac Jones, our guy at 108, higher than what I would consider the consensus to be on Mac Jones.
Yeah.
Like, it's a super flex league. It looks like Jake and I are the lowest on Mac Jones, having him at 111. But even still, again, he's a first round top 15 pick quarterback, obviously pick 15, but there's, I say like every other episode, like there's so much stats saying that after in the second half of the first round and beyond, the quarterbacks are so much less likely to hit. And when you're in a super flex league where there's only 32 quarterbacks and there's 24 quarterbacks that need to be played every week, the value of quarterback position is so high. So getting Mac Jones at the end of the first is solid value.
You take a little bit of a risk, but like if it pays off, it's completely worth it. Like what if I told you like you're getting like a 22-year-old, like I don't know, Kirk Cousins. I know it's like not like, and he could be better, but I mean it's like if you're getting a 22-year-old who's end up gonna have multiple like seasons in like the QB 10 range. I know he's not as flashy as some of those other guys, but still, like that's extremely valuable. But it's also the risk.
I project him more as a quarterback too, like a quarterback 16 to 18 range. But if you're getting 15 years of consistent production at that range, like, I mean, you could just build all around that at that price.
Here's my question with Mac Jones is that why does he always comp to Kirk Cousins instead of someone like Matt Ryan, where his draft capital
Phillip Rivers vibes?
His draft capital is more aligned with like Phillip Rivers, Matt Ryan than it is with Kirk Cousins. But everyone always wants to point to, oh, he's the next Kirk Cousins. He's a forever QB too.
It's the lack of mobility and athleticism that you see. I mean, it's the same with Matt Ryan, but
he doesn't have enough sidearm throws for me for the Phillip Rivers comp.
I just think Kirk Cousins is the current guy, easy guy to point to when you're talking about like a quarterback who very much relies on his passing game.
I don't hate the Matt Ryan comp though.
It just baffles me a little bit that everyone's pro comps for Mac Jones are guys drafted outside of the first round. Like you just be like, oh, he's a Jimmy Garoppolo. Oh, well, he's a Kirk Cousins. Oh, he's a this. Like his draft capital is much higher than all those guys.
Well, the thing about though is those guys were taken. You know, they were some of the highest quarterbacks drafted. In like Phillip Rivers was what, the second quarterback drafted? What was Matt Ryan, like second or third?
First, I think Matt
Ryan was first.
He was third overall, but first QB.
Yeah, so Mac Jones was the fifth. Now, obviously, that's part of it is your competition, right? There was that like Tyrod Taylor year or EJ Manuel, Geno Smith year, I think was what it was, where there was like no good quarterbacks. But when you're looking at like he's the fifth quarterback taken off the board, you do start to wonder, well, why wasn't he valued over these four guys? And this isn't.
If you want to take the bait, you can use that argument for a whole lot of other successful quarterbacks. Just throwing that out there. Like Lamar Jackson, he's the back half of the first round, fifth quarterback, no shot. Same thing with Josh Allen. He was the fourth quarterback. Oh, no, third. He was the third.
most times you'd be right rather than wrong if you're taking Will Grier over Drew Lock, or if you're taking
but Will Grier's a 4th round draft pick.
Sure, okay, but look at so last year, I guess you could argue Justin Herbert over Tua and Joe Burrow. That's fine, but then you're looking at like Dwayne Haskins and Daniel Jones versus Kyler Murray. Like, you'd be more likely.
I don't think it's a good argument looking at the order of the quarterbacks taken. I don't think it. Like I said earlier, it's about necessarily the range. But it's just with quarterbacks, the range is a lot tighter. I will give you it if it's like back half of the first round, like you said. Obviously, Lamar Jackson's the easy exception to point to, but if you just look at it historically speaking, especially for non-mobile quarterbacks, back half of the first round, definitely a whole lot different ball game than the first half of the first round. Whereas receivers and running backs doesn't matter a whole ton between if you're a running back picked at pick 15 or pick 29.
All right. Anything else to add on Mac Jones? That's a good point, though. Why is it Kirk Cousins? Why is it? I personally see Phillip Rivers. I think Phillip Rivers. But at the same time, if we're saying Mac Jones is
he's not as much of a gunslinger as Phillip Rivers.
But if we're saying he's going to be either of these guys, like you're comping him to two.
Yeah, but how is he not as much of a gunslinger? Didn't he just lead the NCAA in passing yards and passing touchdowns, basically?
Because how many times have you seen Phillip Rivers make a throw and you just go, what was that?
Yeah.
You don't see Mac Jones do that. Mac Jones is a more heady quarterback, per se. He plays.
Sounds like you're complimenting him there, then.
No, he is.
Being a gunslinger can be. Being a gunslinger, like they're obviously amazing moments, but they're also like, what the hell is he thinking moments.
Yeah, like Brett Favre, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. How many times do you go, what was he doing? And like, what was that throw? Like, I think that's more of the Phillip Rivers style of play. Well, I think Mac Jones is. I like the Matt Ryan comp. I do. I think he reads the field really well, and I think he has the arm talent to back it up. But the reason why he's lower than a lot of these other guys, especially, Lance and Fields, is just because of the legs. Mac Jones is not beating you around the edge like a Justin Fields or even a Trey Lance can do. So it's just the upside, and I think that's what really plays into the ADP here.
Yeah, and at the same time, if you're comping him to Matt Ryan or Phillip Rivers, like those are two borderline Hall of Fame quarterbacks. Like they both have a case to potentially get in. They're going to be ones that get debated on First Take for.
Well, it's funny because I comp my pro comp for Mac Jones is what you wanted Sam Bradford to be.
That's a good one. Yeah. I like that.
Because I think that Sam Bradford was a guy that really struggled under pressure, and contrary to popular belief, I think that Mac Jones' best throws are under pressure.
Yeah.
He had a good passer rating under pressure, so I agree with you.
And to be fair, if he's like starting or getting in early on the Patriots still have a very good offensive line, so he shouldn't see too much pressure. All
right, well, we can move on. Yeah, I like Mac Jones.
A lot of times on Mac Jones. Devontae Smith, I've beaten this man to death. He's at 109. He's actually him and Mac Jones were tied for 108, 109.
Dude, we have a Twitter group chat, and JT just anytime he sees Devontae Smith, just like
these
idiots.
He'll like run like a good route and just be like, look at his ankles.
This is the
chicken legs.
This is the bait that I'm talking about. There's these Philly beat writers who are talking about Devontae Smith. It's like jaw dropping. Like, look at this play by Devontae Smith.
I mean, if you think about it, if you think about it. What of the receivers the Philly beat reporters have been watching for the past 3 years compared to Devontae Smith? They've been watching J.J. Arcega-Whiteside for 3 years. So, of course, Devontae.
You could put Curtis Samuel there, and they'd probably say the same thing,
the two biggest
based on the quality they've had.
Writers, historically speaking, top two, easy. Baltimore, Philly. No one else is close to that.
Baltimore is unlike anything I've ever seen. Honestly, every receiver they have is the best receiver of all time now.
You think they have a roster of Jerry Rices? Meanwhile, they had the worst receiving corps in the league last year. Like,
well, the thing about it though is like he was literally in a helmet and made a cut. Like it was a cut. It wasn't like anything
It was a hell of a
special.
cut,
It was-
JT.
oh yeah, this guy is jaw dropping in practice. One of a kind. People are gonna be so happy to have him for years. We haven't seen anything yet. Like,
You see that one tweet with Elijah Moore? Like, this is the receiver the Jets have been
Jets have
looking
been
for the
waiting
past
for
like 2
decades.
well,
decades.
the Jets are another one with the beat writers. We're getting off track, but yeah, the beat writers are always going to be the bait. I mean, their job is to sell you headlines. So
Raiders too.
yeah. All right, moving on. Devontae Smith, just talked about him. Najee Harris, we also kind of just covered him. He is our 110. I was the one lower on him than others. We have us up there. Big board's back up.
Yeah, I screwed that one up for the people.
We kind of just talked about Najee Harris as well. So then 111 is where I kind of wanted to dive in just a little bit, and then we're going to move on 111, 112, and then we'll get into our breakdown. Jalen Waddle, I think, is mostly in part to Frank being the lowest on him, but I guess I've dropped on Jalen Waddle compared to Jake and Lounis. Or no, actually, Jake's a little lower on him than me. I guess, why are we lower on Jalen Waddle now than we were?
I still have
the
him. I mean, I still have him as a first rounder. It's just some of the ordering is a little mixed up. Because I don't think his spot is. That's tough. I think I'm trying to think pre-draft, post-draft. I think probably pre-draft I had him probably around like 108. And I don't think it's anything he's done wrong. It's just more some like the other guys, like different landing spots, situations. But I still like Jalen Waddle a ton. I still definitely think he should go in the first round of any rookie draft.
I'm surprised that Travis Etienne isn't in our consensus top 12. That's what shocked
He should
me the most.
He
Because
should be. You know, he's supposed to be.
He
But
would
one
be
of
our
us-
112.
One of us ruined it.
He would be
With-
our 112 if I did not have Rashad Bateman.
because even
As
like
my one.
I'm
should-
not a
Etienne
huge
should
Travis
also be a
Etienne
first
guy,
round pick.
but 111 is a fantastic pick for Travis Etienne to fall to. I know that a lot of people are like, if you're in rookie drafts, he's probably going before 111. That's usually where Devontae Smith or Javonte Williams, at least in my experience, have been falling to in Superflex leagues. But all right, regardless, 111 seems to be one of the best picks for me in the draft. Not necessarily in terms of like
Late
you're gonna
first,
have
you're
to pick
getting
it a layer.
really good value.
Yeah, you're kind of just on that tier break in terms of like, okay, you're getting the last elite level prospect, at least for me. I guess 112, you can make an argument if you really like Jalen Waddle.
111, 112. Because 111, 112, you're getting one of like Mac Jones, Waddle, Etienne. You're getting one of those guys. Don't. He wouldn't even be in my next three.
That's just ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
Give me Elijah Moore, Trey
Right.
Sermon, and Rondell Moore.
Well,
Thanks.
all right. That's
That'll be
our
for next
first
week.
round. That's our first round. Rookie big board. We'll do the second round next week. I guess the big ones that we're off on consensus with are Najee Harris and Devontae Smith. We're probably right with consensus. Najee Harris we're lower on than consensus. Javonte Williams we're higher on. Travis Etienne we're a little bit lower on. That's really it. Mac Jones I guess we're higher on.
We're a little higher up in quarterbacks in general compared to consensus. And I think that's just based on our personal preference of how we like to build our super flex rosters, especially just because we know the value here in quarterbacks is just so high. Like JT mentioned earlier, you start 24 if you're in a 12-man league, and there's only 32 starting in the NFL, and that includes some of the not great quarterbacks that are just playing because of either a bridge quarterback or an injury to the starter. So to find two starting quarterbacks is always difficult. So we put a premium on those guys.
All right, before we move on from the mock, I've got a couple questions I'd like to pose the crowd.
Okay.
Ooh,
Okay.
The crowd.
First off, I want to talk about Elijah Moore in that he right now, if you look at our consensus big board, right, let's just replace 111 with Travis Etienne because Travis Etienne would be there if JT didn't absolutely love
112.
112, you mean?
Well, like, wouldn't... Oh, yeah, he would be 112. Regardless, it seems like Elijah Moore is falling into the first round now.
Yeah, he
In
was
a lot of
literally my
consensus
two.
draft.
He was literally my 201 after Waddle and ETN. At the end
I
of the
think
first. Elijah Moore was the top one in the second.
I think he's most of our 201, if I'm correct. I know he's my 201. I think Lounis just said
It
he's
was like my
201.
203 or 204.
And I think, Frank, you had him at 201 as well. So we've seen Elijah Moore skyrocket up here a little bit, and I don't think it necessarily ends here. I could see him sneaking up to 111.
I wouldn't be surprised if
110.
someone. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if someone took him over maybe like an Etienne or Waddle or Smith. Like, I wouldn't be surprised.
And that's just I think that's listen, I love Elijah Moore as a prospect, but I do think that is due to the training camp hype and people seeing him play in a big market such as the Jets, and just buying into all this beat reporter hype that he's toasting the defense. Like, great, he's playing against the Jets secondary in practice. Like, I don't know how much that says, but I do like the talent, so I don't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to hate on him being at the end of the first discussion because I have him as my definitive 201. I just can't put him ahead any of those guys in the top 12. Whatever order you want to do it, I can't put him ahead of Mac Jones. I can't put him ahead of Waddle. I can't put him ahead of Etienne, or Devontae Smith, but he's literally right there after them. And he would be, if 201 and 202, it's pretty much just like that top tier. It's Elijah Moore and then Trey Sermon if you really need a running back. But it's hard for me to put him in the top 12.
My thing with Elijah Moore is like he's solid. I think he'll be a solid NFL wide receiver, but I don't think he'll ever be like the guy for a team where he's like the dependable, like this is our guy. And when you look at the other receivers above him, I think they have, at least the ones I have above him, I think they have a better chance of that, and that's kind of what knocks him down. I still think he will be dependable.
I think like if you're looking like at in terms of higher percentile outcomes of his career, like I could see him being like a Julian Edelman type.
See,
like
I was gonna say more of a Jarvis Landry type.
Jarvis too.
Guy.
Yeah,
where he's a great wide receiver, always in that wide receiver 2 conversation. Sometimes sneaks into that wide receiver 1, but he's never a guy that people rank super high. And I think that's not always.
And you're happy with that at 201 though. If you're telling me I'll get a guy who's always in like that 10 to 16 discussion for like a lot of their career, you take that, especially coming in as a rookie with potential for higher.
Absolutely. If you can get that from a second round pick and you could keep him around on your roster for 7 years, I think that's a major win.
All right. Do you have any more questions? Okay. I was just asking.
Because I'm not. If you guys watch on the stream,
is he doing a gotcha?
I think I'm taking the bait here because
okay.
I actually don't disagree with Elijah Moore going in the first round. He was a guy. There was 5 receivers. I think it was 5, maybe 6, that I had a first round grade on, and he was one of them. A late first, early second round grade, very similar to Rondale Moore and Dyami Brown. I just didn't like his film as much as those guys. But if you really like him and you need a receiver, I actually do think he can be the guy. And I might be taking the bait, believing in the camp hype, all that crap, but I actually kind of like his profile. Data analytics wise, he's very strong. Film wise, I thought it was inconsistent, but it's not bad. The one thing I will say though is that this is a guy. He might be a practice kind of guy. There was Lounis, you showed me the video of him just torching guys one-on-one in practice.
One-on-ones, he's unguardable, yeah.
Like, the real question is, is this going to translate to the field? Because I hated the offense he was in. I was not a fan of that Ole Miss offense, a lot of it, for him specifically.
No.
But I'm going to do it. I'm going to take the bait. I'm going to believe in the Elijah Moore hype to a certain extent.
Okay, but who are you taking him over? Because I do like him. Like I said, I do like him. But like Luna said, I just don't have anyone I would take him over in this first round.
In Frank's case, it'd be Rondale Moore, right?
Well, who did Frank take out Rondale Moore for? Who did Frank take out for Rondale Moore?
Oh, we got from Frank.
I don't know if I can say it. I don't know if I can say it. I don't know if I can commit to this.
He's gonna say Jamar Chase. He wants to say Jamar Chase.
You better not fucking say
Sell
Jamar
all
Chase.
Bengals. Sell all Bengals.
This man's on a one man tour, war rampage against the
He's going. Yeah, I was gonna say he's going to war with the entire city of Cincinnati.
I hope we have some
in Ohio.
Cincinnati. I really hope we have some Cincinnati fans that listen to us out there and send us some nasty comments just because Frank tells them to sell all the Bengals.
I've got a whole list of them. I already have a video where I had like 20 of them all roasting me. They'll call me an idiot.
Well, they will. They'll rightfully roast you if you have
I'm not
Elijah
saying
Moore
it,
over
though.
Jamar Chase.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not committing to that.
All right.
But I could see him at 111. I think that's where I can put him.